One of the things that I take advantage of and I love is that I come from a family that didn't mind telling stories. And being born and raised in Wharton and Kent County, Chestertown area, even though it was generations before I even existed, I still seen a lot of it. I can recall times of being told that we couldn't be in a certain area. One of the things when I was growing up as a teenager, we would congregate or loot, however you want to say it, in front of the movie theater. Of course, some of it was before the movie theater was there. It was still, though, we called it the Ames building. And then when the movie theater came in, we would still be there. I can recall times where we weren't allowed to be there, but there were other students of different race that were able to be down the street and never got in trouble and never got. So I can't say that I've been a part of exactly what happened in the 60s. I've heard stories, and because of what happened to me in the 1990s, I could only imagine what actually happened back then. One of the things that, as I stated, is that I love that my family talked about it. And I've always been very inquisitive, so I don't mind asking questions. What happened and why, and how did you feel when that happened? I can recall conversations with older family members of when they had to not walk on the sidewalk when someone else was walking in their direction, or when they were told that they couldn't be in a certain part of town at a certain time. I recall about the old movie theater, which was down on Washington Avenue, not being able to sit down on the main floor. Even to this day, I have some family members that don't want to go in there because they weren't allowed to go in there when they were younger. So little things like that, and I guess just hearing the stories and being so inquisitive, asking the questions, it almost put me, very active imagination, I kind of felt like it put me where they were. Was I there? Absolutely not. But, just going through some of the things that they have trying to go through in my mind, some of the things that they've been through, it was very humbling. Very humbling. To a certain extent, I can look and see, yes, I really believe that things are getting better. But even with the progression, there are still things that have yet to change. People must change. And until people change, then we'll never see that change that we're really looking for. And not just change on the surface. It's got to be a change in the heart. And actually, just about 3 months ago, I had a friend and a colleague that was in Easton Walmart and was literally harassed to the point where she had to call the police because of a young man who was of a different race, abusing her mentally, physically, and verbally. So,
does happen.
Yeah. It actually does. It really does. So when things like that happen, it's kind of hard to say, yeah, my kids won't have to deal with that, because we're still dealing with it today. What would Martin say if he was here today? What would be the message that he would have given if he had to deliver Reverend Pinckney's eulogy from the Charleston Nine? What would he say if he was in New York with Eric Gardner? What would he say if he were here today to stop some of the things that are going on? And it's not hard, because the sad truth is we could probably use some of the words that he said in the 60s to still iterate and to tell us that there is indeed hope. But it goes back to something that you said first, trying to get that heart right, and if it can ever change. We have to stop trying to change people and just start showing them the error of their ways. I'm reminded of a story in the Bible about David and Nathan, who is his prophet, knew what David had did as far as Bathsheba and Uriah. And Nathan came to him and told him a story. Sometimes it has to be as simple as telling a story. Let me tell you a story. I want your advice. Tell me what I should do. There was this rich man and there was this poor man. The rich man had all he could ever want. The poor man only had one yearling, and the rich man took it. What should we do? Of course, David in the story says, no, he needs to be put, get rid of him. And then just as easily, and I very imaginative, so I can see Nathan turn around saying, you are the man. That's how we need to touch people. We need to show them instead of trying to change them. Make them want to change on their own. Because the more we try to change a person, the more we'll be spinning our wheels. But if we can show them that there's change that's needed, and then they change because they are now feeling hopeful, then it'll happen. I think one of the first things he would probably say is, you can't fuss and complain if you haven't done anything to rectify the problem. What I've noticed is that a lot of us, we have this woe is me attitude, and we don't want to, we haven't done anything, but it's still woe is me. They haven't given me a chance. I see it a lot in the field that I work in, trying to help individuals become employed. They come in, well, no one will hire me. Well, how are you presenting yourself? Are you giving them reason not to hire you? If you go in any old they're not going to hire you just because you are. Well, I know I have more experience than the next person. Okay, now what are you doing that's giving them reason to say no? If you can't present yourself in a way that would make anybody want to hire you, just for instance, why should they hire you? I believe that's something that Martin would definitely say, simply because he was the one who was determined for peace. Don't fight back. Don't give them reason. Let they spit in your face. Okay. Don't touch them. Don't say anything. Just sit there, because eventually they'll see the error of their ways. If we're not giving them reason to be down, if we're not giving them reason to be prejudiced, or to not give as much as they should be, if we're not giving them reason to not be supportive, then that's the first battle. With this generation, they have a lot of, as you said, hatred. They have a lot of anger, but they haven't done anything to rectify that problem. And it starts with us. It starts with us. We have to be able to stand up and say, I've done this. What's next?